Watson! Wake up, Watson.
What on earth?
Come along, Watson. It's 7:15.
7:15, Holmes?
Yes, I know it's a little before my usual time. It seems that a young lady has arrived in a considerable state of excitement.
Ah.
When young ladies wander about the metropolis at this hour of the morning and knock sleepy people up out of their beds, I presume they have something very pressing to communicate.
The young woman, eh? Well, just give me a few minutes to dress and I'm ready.
Pray draw up to the fire, madam, and I shall order you a cup of hot coffee.
You are shivering.
No coffee, thank you, Mr. Holmes. It is not cold that's making me shiver.
What, then?
It is fear, Mr. Holmes. It is terror.
Good heavens.
You must not fear. We shall soon set matters right.
Yes, certainly.
You have come in by train this morning, I see.
You know me?
No, but I observed the second half of a return ticket in the palm of your left glove. You had a good ride in a dog cart along heavy roads before you reached the station.
Mr. Holmes, I don't...
The left arm of your jacket is freshly spattered with mud in no less than 7 places. The marks are perfectly fresh. There is no vehicle save a dog cart which throws up mud in that way, and then it's only when you sit on the left-hand side of the driver.
You're perfectly right. I came in by the first train to Waterloo. Sir, I can stand this train no longer. I shall go mad if it continues.
Calm yourself, dear lady.
I am all attention, madam.
My name is Helen Stoner, and I'm living with my stepfather, Dr. Grimesby Roylott of Stoke Moran on the western border of Surrey. About 8 years ago, my mother was killed in a railway accident near Crewe.
Oh, how dreadful.
My sister Julia and I were twins, and we were only 2 years old at the time of my mother's remarriage. My mother bequeathed her money to Dr. Roylott entirely, whilst I and my twin sister Julia resided with him, with a provision that a certain annual sum should be allowed to each of us in the event of our marriage. Dr. Roylott then abandoned his practice in London and took us to live with him at Stoke Moran.
What sort of man is your stepfather?
He's a man of immense strength and absolutely uncontrollable anger. Instead of making friends and exchanging visits with our neighbours, he indulged in ferocious quarrels with anyone crossing his path. No servant would stay with us. And for a long time, my poor sister and I did all the housework. She was only 30 at the time of her death.
Your sister is dead, then?
She died just 2 years ago. She had met a half-pay major of Marines and got engaged to him. My stepfather learned of the engagement when my sister returned and offered no objection to the marriage. But within a fortnight of the day which had been fixed for the wedding, this terrible event occurred.
Miss Stoner, please tell us the details very precisely.
Very well. The manor house is very old. Only one wing is now inhabited. The bedrooms are on the ground floor. The first is Dr. Roylott's, the second was my sister's, and the third my own. There's no communication between them, but they all open out onto the same corridor. The windows of all 3 rooms open out upon the lawn. That fatal night, Dr. Roylott had gone to his room early. We could smell his strong cigars. Julia was in my room chatting about her approaching wedding. At 11 o'clock, she rose to leave me.
Helen, darling.
Yes, dear?
Tell me, have you ever heard anyone whistle in the dead of night?
Whistle? No, never. But why are you asking?
Because during the last 2 nights at about 3 in the morning, I've kept hearing a low, clear whistle. It seems to be from the next room, or perhaps from the lawn. I wonder you didn't hear it.
I've less on my mind than you. I sleep more heavily.
Well, I don't suppose it matters. Good night, darling.
Good night, Julia, dear.
You say you locked the door after your sister?
Yes. It's my habit at night.
Quite so. Pray continue.
Well, I could not sleep that night. I had a vague feeling of impending misfortune. My sister and I were twins, you know. We seemed to be very closely bound.
Yes, often the case.
Suddenly, I heard the wild screams of a terrified woman. I knew it was my sister's voice. I rushed into the corridor. Just as I opened my door, I seemed to hear a low whistle, and then a clanging sound as if a mass of metal had fallen. My sister's door was unlocked. and it seemed to swing slowly open upon its hinges. I was rooted to the spot. Then, by the light of the corridor lamp, I saw my sister coming out, with her face blanched with terror, and her hands groping for help. Julia! Julia, my darling! What is it? What's happened to my darling?
Helen, it was the band.
What?
The Speckled Band.
The Speckled Band? Julia! Julia, darling!
Father, come quickly, please.
When he reached my sister's side, she was unconscious. She died without recovering.
A terrible story. Were there any marks of violence on her?
None.
How about poison?
The doctors examined her for it, but there was nothing.
Even locked. Could anyone have gained access to the room by the window, say?
Oh, impossible. It's blocked by old-fashioned shutters and wrought iron bars.
The chimney?
It's wide, but it's barred off too.
Then, Miss Stoner, what do you think this unfortunate lady died of?
It's my belief, Mr. Holmes. She died of pure fear.
And what do you think frightened her?
That's what I can't imagine.
What did you gather from this allusion to a speckled band?
Nothing. I thought sometimes it was merely the wild talk of delirium.
Pray go on.
2 years have passed since then. My life has been lonelier than ever until just lately. However, a dear friend whom I've known for many years has done me the honor to ask me to marry him. We're to be married during the next few weeks.
What is your stepfather's view?
Oh, he's offered no opposition whatever.
I see.
But 2 days ago, some repairs were started in the west wing of the building. My bedroom wall is affected, so I had to move into the room in which my sister died. I'm sleeping in the very bed in which she slept.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine my terror last night as I lay awake, thinking of her awful fate. When I suddenly heard that same low whistle which had occurred just before her death.
Great heavens.
I sprang up, I lit the lamp, but nothing was to be seen in the room. I was too shaken to go to bed again, though. I got dressed, and as soon as it was daylight, I slipped out of the house. My one object was to see you, Mr. Holmes.
You have done wisely. This is a very deep business, and we have not a moment to lose. If we were to come to Stoke Moran today, would it be possible for us to see over these rooms without your stepfather's knowledge?
Oh, yes, he was speaking of coming into town today on business. He will probably be away all day.
Then you may expect us early in the afternoon. I, too, have some small business matters to attend to first.
Will you not wait and have breakfast, though?
No, thank you. I must go.
Oh.
My heart is lightened already, gentlemen. I shall look forward to seeing you again this afternoon.
Allow me. Well, Holmes. Dark and sinister, eh?
Dark enough and sinister enough.
If the door and window and chimney were impassable, her sister must have been absolutely alone.
Death in a sealed room, in other words. We have whistles at night and a doctor who has a financial interest in preventing his stepdaughter's marriage. We have a dying reference to a speckled band and the fact of a metallic clang which might have been caused by one of those metal bars on the shutters falling back into place. If we combine these ideas, I think there is good ground to believe that...
Which of you is Holmes?
My name, sir, but you have the advantage of me.
I am Dr. Grimesby Roylott of Stoke Moran.
Indeed, Doctor. Pray take a seat.
I will do nothing of the kind. My stepdaughter has been here. I have traced her.
It is a little cold for the time of the year.
What has she been saying to you?
But I have heard that the crocuses promise well.
Ah, you think you can put me off, do you? I know you scoundrel. You are Holmes, the meddler. Holmes of Scotland Yard, Jack in office.
Your conversation is most entertaining, Dr. Roylott. When you go out to close the door, there's a decided draught.
I will go when I've had my say. Don't you dare to meddle with my affairs. I'm a dangerous man to fall foul over. See here. I'll show you how I can bend a poker and how I can bend you for 2 pins. There. That's what I could do to you. See that you keep yourself out of my grip. Well, really?
He seems a very amiable fellow. I'm not quite so bulky myself, but if he'd stayed, I might have shown him that my grip is not much more feeble than his own.
Holmes, have a care.
There you are. Quite straight again.
I say, Holmes.
As for having the insolence to confuse me with the official detective force. However, the incident gives zest to our investigation.
I hope the dear little lady will not suffer from allowing this brute to trace her.
Let's hope not. By the way, Watson.
Yes, Holmes.
When we leave, I'd be much obliged if you would slip your revolver into your pocket. And Ely's number 2 is an excellent argument with gentlemen who can twist steel pokers into knots. And this, I take it, is the room in which you are now sleeping, Miss Stoner?
Yes. This is where my sister met her death.
Dr. Roylett's room is on which side of it?
That one.
I see. Now, as your sister locked this door at night, the room was quite unapproachable from the corridor.
Yes.
And there are the shutters for closing of the windows.
Strong enough by the look of them. Solid iron hinges. No way to get a knife through to raise the bar.
Well, what else have we? What is that over the bed? A bell rope?
Yes, it was put there a couple of years ago.
Uh-huh. Your sister asked for it, I suppose?
No, I never heard of her using it.
Indeed. Care to give it a tug, Watson?
Certainly. What about your servant?
Oh, there's only a housekeeper, and she's in the wash house.
This is funny. It doesn't seem to work. There's no giving it at all.
Let me see. This bell rope is a dummy.
A dummy?
Yes, look. You can see it's fastened to a hook just above the little opening of the ventilator.
Oh, I never noticed that before.
There are one or two very singular points about this room. For instance, do you notice that the ventilator connects with the adjoining room?
My stepfather's room. So it does.
Fool of a builder. Well, why didn't he cut the ventilator through the outside wall to the fresh air?
The ventilator was quite a recent addition, too.
I fancied as much. Done about the same time as the bell rope?
Yes.
A dummy bell rope and a ventilator which doesn't ventilate. With your permission, Miss Stoner, we shall now carry our researches into the next apartment, Dr. Roylett's own room. Sparsely furnished, I see.
Yes.
And a safe. Have you seen inside it?
Only once, some years ago. It was full of papers.
There isn't a cat in it, for example?
A cat? In a safe, Holmes?
Of course not.
Well, what is a saucer of milk doing here, just in front of it?
I don't understand. We don't keep a cat.
Well, let it be. I think there is just one point I should like to determine.
What, Holmes?
The seat of this wooden chair here. Let me just get my lens onto it. That's quite settled, then.
What?
Hello, here is something interesting.
Looks like a dog leash.
But we haven't a dog either.
Curled upon itself and tied to make a loop of a whipcord. Now, what do you make of that, Watson?
Well, it's a common enough object, but I don't know why it should be tied like that.
I think I've seen enough now. Miss Stoner, it is very essential that you should follow my advice in every respect. Your life may depend upon it.
I am in your hands, Mr. Holmes.
In the first place, my friend and I must spend the night in your room.
Holmes!
Yes, it must be so. I believe that is the village inn over there.
Yes, that is the Crown.
Your windows would be visible from there. You must confine yourself to your room with a headache when your stepfather comes back. When you hear him retire for the night, you must open the shutters of your window, undo the hasp, put your lamp there as a signal to us, and then withdraw from the room. I've no doubt you can manage elsewhere for one night.
Oh, easily.
Excellent. We shall come over from the inn and spend the night in the room you have left.
Mr. Holmes, I believe you have already made up your mind.
Perhaps I have.
Then for pity's sake, tell me what was the cause of my sister's death.
I should prefer to have clearer proof before I speak. And now, Miss Stoner, we must leave you. If Dr. Roylett returned and saw us, our journey would be in vain. Watson and I must make our way to the Crown and engage a room commanding a view of this part of Stoke Moran Manor House.
Goodbye, Miss Stoner. Be brave. This must be Miss Stoner's window, Holmes.
Yes, Watson.
After you, Holmes.
Keep your voice down, Watson. Now, close the shutters.
Very well.
Without a sound.
Oh.
We must sit here without a light. He would see it through the ventilator.
I understand.
At all costs, do not go to sleep. Have your pistol ready. I will sit on the side of the bed, and you in the chair.
Right.
I brought a candle and matches with me. We shall have to turn out her lamp now, so that he'll think that she's gone to bed. But if anything happens, I have my candle ready to light. Now, is everything understood?
Perfectly.
Good. Now put out the lamp, Watson. Good. Now then, quite still. Not a sound.
Holmes. Something's happening. A lamp has been lit in the next room.
Yes, I see. Listen.
What is it?
Right, Watson. Stay where you are.
See, Watson! Holmes, what on earth are you doing? It's getting away. What is it, Holmes? I can't see. Quickly, Watson, into the next room. What's it mean, Holmes? Get your pistol out. Look at him. Look at his head. Wrapped around it.
The band. The Speckled Band. It's a swamp adder. The deadliest snake in India. Roylet's dead already.
Great heavens. Shall I shoot it?
No. This noose in the dog leash will do. It's obviously intended for this. Just slip it around this reptile's neck.
Oh, be careful, Holmes.
All right, Watson. Have no fear. And if you'll be so good as to open the safe door a little wider, we'll pop it inside like that. Now close the door quickly.
With the greatest pleasure. Phew. Holmes. Do you mean to say you suspected a snake?
Well, it was clear that whatever danger threatened could not come either from the window or the door. The discovery that the bell rope adjoining the ventilator was a dummy made me suspicious that the rope was there as a bridge. The idea of a snake occurred to me instantly, and when I coupled it with the fact that the late Miss Julia Stoner bore no marks of injury, I felt sure I was on the right track.
I see.
It would be a sharp-eyed coroner indeed who could distinguish the two little dark punctures which would show where the poison fangs had done their work.
Well, what about the whistle?
He would put the snake through the ventilator with the certainty that it would crawl down the rope and land on the bed. He could not be sure that it would bite the occupant of the bed. She might escape every night for a week before she fell a victim. Therefore, he had to be able to recall the snake. He trained it, probably by the use of the milk, which we saw, to come back to him when he whistled to it.
Bit of a snake charmer, eh?
Something of the kind. I had come to these conclusions before I even entered his room. You remember, I examined his chair with my lens.
Yes, why was that?
Simply to confirm from the scratches that he had been in the habit of standing on it to reach the ventilator.
So the metallic clang...
Obviously, her stepfather hastily closing the door of the safe on its terrible occupant.
Holmes?
Yes, Watson.
I am just beginning to feel rather thankful that I did not know any of this before we settled down in that room in the dark. When I think of that creature slithering down the bell rope towards
Well,
us...
at least I sat on the bed and gave you the chair.
So you did. And you knew what to expect.
As soon as I heard the creature hiss, I knew for certain what we were up against. I don't mind admitting I was glad to get that candle lit and use my stick upon the boot.
With the result of driving it through the ventilator. Was that what you wanted to do?
I would not say that. Some of my blows must have roused its snakish temper. It fled through the ventilator and fastened upon the first person it saw. When a doctor does go wrong, he's the first of criminals. He has nerve and he has knowledge. No doubt I'm indirectly responsible for Dr. Grimesby Roylott's death, but I can't say it's likely to weigh very heavily upon my conscience